What's going on, folks? I am going to be your host today, and this is episode 2 of S.OH.S. And I got a co-host with me that goes by the name of Trey, one of my buddies from way back. Trey, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
What's good? How's everybody doing today? My name is Trey. I know my boy James for a little while here. We've been making music together. We're working on some good ass shit. And then what people mostly call me, my DJ name and my artist name is Milodafella.
Yeah, and I go by Spinderella, man, and my doppelganger, or what did someone say? Alter ego, Cinderella Man. But let's dive right into what we're about to talk about. Today's topic, which is art versus success, mainly in our wheelhouse, which is album production. How do you feel about that topic, Trey?
Man, that's a good topic. There's a lot of things that we got to talk about for you guys today, a lot of points, and we're just going to dive right into it.
Just keep in mind, folks, this is just a discussion with some facts we state, speaking our mind, between those shades of gray, because it's like everyone supposedly self-started is not as authentic or struggled as much. It really seems like many a times we got these creatives who are more successful, but they do slack on the art side. So without wasting anyone's time, let's get into an example I saw in a book, and that was Nas versus Jay-Z. How do you feel about that, Trey?
It's a crazy thing, and it's true, because like you were talking about, Nas versus Jay-Z is a perfect example, because we were talking about it earlier, and he was saying how Nas definitely has it on the art side at that time. He did. But overall, longevity-wise, he was talking about how Jay-Z, look at the success of Jay-Z's career. Look at everything that he set up. On that side, he kind of had it a little bit.
Right, I definitely do agree with him, because it's like Nas won when they were making the diss records. At least that's just my thought on that. Unfortunately, Jay-Z still won in his own way. And, it seems like many a times some creatives, whether in an urban terrain or whatever, fight for more quality, they'll fight for more of a quality legacy. And then you got some people that just, want to accumulate generational wealth, and they'll kind of brush the art off for whatever their culture becomes. Because, some of these creative rappers, especially after finishing an album, their batting average doesn't really go up because they get caught in a slump, or they lost that magic they had while producing at the beginning. And it's hard to quantify that too exactly, but it's all part of the game. Everyone's got to play some type of game like that, whether you trade your art for more wealth or focus more on your art, brushing off the wealth or viability off to the side, which not many can afford to do. So what's your input on that, Trey?
And that's exactly right, because you think about it, they both won in their own rights. When it comes to the art side of it, Nas had the better diss records. He did. I mean, it's just the reality of it. Facts are facts. But when it comes to the success side, they're both successful in their own right. But look at the wealth that Jay-Z created. So who really won in that point? They won in their own right, because Nas won in the way that he wanted to when it comes to the music, because that's what was true to him. And in the sense, Jay-Z won when it came to the wealth, because that's what he wanted to build. So, I mean, it's kind of a conundrum, because who won? They both won in their own right. But that's depending on what you do, which is perfect, because art versus success. Which one is more important? That depends on the artist, and that depends on what they personally want.
For real. And it's like, you got some people, man, they'll make something popular, and that has its perks until you're pushing out these saturated songs. And it's like, at that point, you're not even making songs for yourself anymore. It's just, we're just talking more about urban sound. But it's like many a times these creatives and stuff, man, they'll homogenize their sound and style for success, which happens because some are, I'm going to give a perfect example. You got your quintessential crossover pop savvy person like Nelly, man. He's good at making hits, but he's not very much of a lyricist who's gifted. He's more like a showman. And how you feel about that, Trey?
And he is. And don't get me wrong, he's good. Nelly is good in his own right. But think about it. When you think about hip hop and the way that hip hop is in the urban music, he mostly makes songs that are more popular. And not knocking him, because he's a good showman. He's a good entertainer. But that's what he is.
Right. Moving up the ladder a little bit, talking about someone who's like a higher example, at least quality to me, you got someone like Ludacris. He's still done some suspect pop music, but he still had his own, his like some of his stuff starting off, man, was some street shit. And like for more viability reasons, did he go to do more pop music? I guess at the end of the day, man, it's like, you can't even blame some of these people, man, because it's like people did hate LL Cool J at one point for, making some fucking chick joints and shit. And I guess this is where I say it's the reasons in which one attempts to be a sellout that can rectify them as a more legitimate creative with wealth as well as, you know, becoming more of an iconic stature. Because you see a lot of people, man, they're not fucking hitting LL Cool J's status or longevity with a career.
They won't even get close.
Without going any further, folks, we're going to take a break really quick, and we're going to play our preview instrumental from our forthcoming album, Sonic Soul Sorcerers. So until then, folks, enjoy. What is good, peeps? And we are back onto our main topic, art versus success. Me and Trey were just talking about generic music video ideas. When it comes to the art versus success thing, you know, the intersecting of those two, commerce in itself or just making a living, requires you to prostitute your art a bit. That's what you're doing in business. You're prostituting your art, making it commerce, which has some merit to it, what I just said. Whether you are like a more of a creative or an entertainer with qualities, whatnot, and whether you are worth celebrating. And it's like, you just got so many of these people, man. You know, they beyond that generic status with the music videos, and they still out there doing it. I really do think that middle ground between art, you know, and success is hard to find, because it seems like, you know, you're either rising or falling, and then many get stuck in like a limbo purgatory type spot. And you got like these people with celebrity status that they're just like sticking like a hatchet in what they're trying to do, man. You know, they're falling off, they're washed up, whatever it is.
And like he said, it is easy to become generic, and it's unfortunate, but it's true, because like you said, there's a sweet spot. There's a perfect spot in the middle where it has to be. Because if you think about today's consumer, think about it. Most people do not have long attention spans. They don't. And we were talking about this during the break. Think about a video. If your video was good, maybe you have somebody's attention span for a minute. But if it's not, and if it's something that is not interesting to people, if you don't grab their attention, maybe you'll only have it for 5 seconds. So for people, they have to find that sweet spot of actually keeping somebody's attention the whole time and maintaining that interest. So a lot of times, what are they going to do? They're going to sell out and do things that grab people's attention, which is why you see so many repetitive things in the music videos in the industry. Why do you think they talk about girls all the time? Why do you think they talk about cars all the time? Why do you think they talk about money all the time? Because sex sells. Everybody wants money, and everybody wants nice things. It's just reality.
No, exactly. You know, us coming from like this grassroots status, we're not hit makers. We're guys trying to craft what we love into an album, whether it's a hit or not. And, you know, these major organizations, these people that are hit makers, this reminds me of something Chameleonaire said in a video, not a music video, but a movie me and Trey watched. It was called Respect the Game. It was directed by DJ Drama. And Chameleonaire said, like, these labels, man, they just bend people over. And the trap some fall into is like, true. I feel like when they end up a hit maker, they cannot maintain their credibility with being original, because the audience wants them to be something they're not. Like, there's exceptions to that, sure. But like, so many fall victim to that willful ignorance. And, you know, originality doesn't always become famous. And, you know, it just takes time producing something like that, man. And you got Nature of the Beast happening a lot, because some do get popcorn pimped and that willful ignorance. And, you know, they don't know any better because they're just indentured. You know, they're in that contract. And, you know, that bigger game, man, that big, you know, corporate game of music is like a confidence game, you know? These people prove a track record or whatever, or they don't, and, you know, they got to sell a certain amount of units, and I just can't even believe, like, Hollywood, for real, man. Nowadays, it's just, there's ramifications of becoming a celebrity, and I'm not saying it's always a bad thing, but for some, definitely, especially from our local status, you know, trying to be grassroots and actually make something. And yeah, for real, man. That's just showbiz, though, for you. When something becomes showbiz, it's just all, it's got to be overblown. You know, and you know what I'm talking about, Trey.
Yeah, and then that commercial side in general, too. Like, you talking about getting bent over by labels and stuff. The biggest thing that I think is a problem with the labels, yes, you have X amount of contract. Yes, they have all their things that go in and out with the contract. But my biggest thing is that loss of originality. Because what do they want? They want movements of units. So they're going to tell you what kind of music that you can make. They're going to tell you when that you can perform, what you can perform, what to wear. And that is almost, in a sense, a loss of that originality. Now, if you can sign to a label and make it so they don't do that, which is going to be very rare, and that's cool, but 9 times out of 10 that doesn't happen. You get signed to a label and you were making X amount of music was a certain type when you were signed to that label, which was a hit. So what they're going to have you do is continuously chase that hit. That way they can continuously make that kind of music and get that out of you so they can sell more units, which is unfortunate because that just takes away from the originality of everything.
For real, man. Us coming from that self-made status, trying to be that, these people, man, they just, there's not a lot of integrity with some of these cats that get played, and they make dumb shit to get rich, which it's pathetic. These cats don't really have longevity.
I mean, you gotta give it to them, though. I get it. They want money. I get you want money, for real,
you know,
you can't sacrifice the art for it.
Yeah, and you know, like, major companies ain't trying to hear us tell you some shit like this because they just trying to pimp someone, walk them out the door. And some people do get lucky writing a hit, while a lot of people just keep on plugging along, trying to keep releasing albums in this power struggle that we're in right now. And it's just that brutal honesty that I'm trying to push out here is just how shitty, like, pop culture has become, to the point where it kind of ruins grassroots creatives' chances and stuff like that. And that's something we live, and it's like we still make the best out of it, having fun, kicking it, and trying to, like, explain it to y'all. And there's too many corny rappers out there, man. We try and stomp them out for y'all, and there's just never enough lyricists on the radio, man. If people even freaking listen to the radio for that, you know, whatever it is.
Hard to listen to the radio now.
So I guess that's why we're here doing this, because that's part of the game, and we still respect the game. You know, am I right, Trey?
We do. That's why we watch the movie, man.
For real, man. You know, that particular, like, success that some of these people come up on is very rare. We've already talked about that. A lot of these people, man, they do live like these blurred or illusionary lines. Just wrapping that up. A lot of that stuff's part of the game, and, you know, we made a lot of good points and statements. Hopefully you found some merit with this, because there was a lot of insight we dropped, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Wrapping it up, check out our upcoming half album, Sonic Soul Sorcerers, and check out my boy Trey's upcoming solo work. You know, he'll tell you about it in a second real quick, but you know, I got some stuff coming out myself, my half EP, or my EP. There's more to life than increasing its speed, and then I got a single called you know, The Round's on Me, because, you know, it is, and, you know, I'm a generous person. I want people to notice that, because I give back, and I just want people to really realize, especially with this half album, there is more to life than increasing its speed. Trey, you got something to say about your stuff?
Yeah, so I got one coming up under my artist name, Milodafella. It's called Mechanism, and I like how it said it's more to life, because mine talks about that. Because think about it. What is a mechanism? A mechanism is a cog of things working together to make a machine work. So what are we when we work every day in a 9-to-5 corporation? We are cogs in that mechanism. So that EP is about being aware of what we actually are as cogs in that mechanism, because in order to break out of it and become something more than that, we have to at first become aware of what we actually are. So that's what that is. It's trying to get people conscious and saying there's more to life than just being a cog in the mechanism. Because me personally, James knows this, I believe that we were born to be free. How are you free if you're living as a slave 9 to 5, 5 days a week?
This just goes back to you being courageous enough to not want to be indentured, and just find your own way of life. Finding your own way of life and finding your way in life, there's similarities there.
And don't get me wrong, it's tough. Because if we're not working in 9 to 5, how are we going to have money to afford everything that we need? I'm not saying it's an easy path, but is it worth it? If you figured it out and you had that freedom to do what you want when you want, is that not worth it?
Oh, definitely. I agree with him on that 100%. You'll make the sacrifices if you think it's worth it to you. 100%. Don't want to keep you held up too long, but, you know, Instagram Instagram, we got Milo, the big fella, and then we got me, for Neverland's founding father. As always, peace to all the listeners worldwide. We'll see you next time.
Peace.